podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts Radio Network, kingofpodcasts.com.
Hollywood's biggest adversary last year was the strike against the studios. This year, it's against social media.
The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Welcome to episode 376 of the Broadcasters Podcast. Kingofpodcasts.com is the website where you find all the programming right here of this program and so much more. Of course, I have other programs I do. The Wrestling Control Podcast, which is in the depths right now of WrestleMania season. My Depraved and Debaucherous Podcast, which is doing actually quite well on YouTube, as a matter of fact. I don't know what it is all about, but people are really into it. And I'm happy to say that my Podcasters Row program is coming back. I actually have several interviews I've already recorded in anticipation. So I'm actually recording my 4th episode of this season for Podcasters Row. I'm not going to put it out every week. I'm going to probably do it in a twice a month format now. It's probably going to be the best way for me to go ahead and keep that up. But I'm getting back into the hang of it. And I've got some great interviews set up. So keep an eye on it. If you haven't done so, look forward to kingofpodcasts.com. I'll make sure the episodes are up there for you to go and check out for yourselves. But check all the past episodes as well. 18 episodes so far. They're really good. Podcasting with podcasters, it's a good cross-promotional kind of deal, and I do like doing those. So tonight we're going to talk about a new study, a very comprehensive study from Deloitte. Talk about 2025's digital media trends. And they're making their point, the claim that social platforms are becoming a more dominant force in media and entertainment, with studios and streaming providers are busy competing with each other. Tougher competition is coming from social media platforms that are hyperscale and hypercapitalized. So it's one thing when music was getting conquered by the likes of Napster, the takeover that took, when podcasting did its run on radio. Okay. But then the other part of the digital disruption that really hasn't gone into much is where television has taken us. Because of the digital disruption, what we watch when it comes to movies and television, it wasn't something that was completely affected. I mean, it's the fact that because the trends were going on and the studios had to go and realize they had to do something to keep people watching their content. And when they realized, well, the internet's becoming much more prominent, they needed to go ahead and get ahead of the pack and start learning how to stream content and make it available. I'd love to get a survey of the audience out there. For those that are streaming on a regular basis, I'd love to know if you have a particular list of shows that you're watching or movies that you watch. And how many of them encompass programming that has just launched or launched in the last 2-3 years? And then how much of the content that you watch on streaming is pre-2020 or even pre-2000, pre-1990? Maybe really old. Like right now, for me, my current viewing habits, I watch Godfather Harlem. Been watching that for the last few months. Because I'm not watching it, I'm not binge watching through it in one shot. I just don't have the time for it. The Power Universe, been watching Power Book 3, Raising Kanan right now. And the other thing I've been watching now, I just started watching, was Kojak was on Prime Video now. It's available to watch without commercials. And I'm like, oh, great. I've been wanting to watch that show from the beginning to the end. So yeah, those are some of the shows I'm actually right now rotating. And also Taxi on Paramount Plus. With other shows that we watch from time to time where, if it's 10 episodes, okay, just a quick jump in. All right, that's fine. Anything with Taylor Sheridan, things like that. And I'll also say Suits LA, which so far it's kind of getting somewhere. It's not the original Suits, but that's okay. They needed to do something different if they were going to go ahead and bring that show back in a spinoff. So it's working for me. I'm getting into it. We need time to the characters to go ahead and blend in and get in. But some of the stories, it's very Suits-like, so that's fine with me. But when you look at the overall view of what social platforms are doing, we have seen various moments that have caused the digital disruption to increase. And we've seen the failure for the studios or for the media establishment to keep up with it. We also even talked about the red media when it comes to print media or magazines. Remember, are all getting affected. AI is affecting all that right there. So what we read, what we watch, what we listen, it is the encompassing of what media is for us. What we are being entertained, informed, or studying on. And social media covers a lot of that. I mean, in 20 years of YouTube, they have definitely perfected the form of streaming. I mean, right now they're being very deceptive on their ads because now they don't give you the countdown to skip the ads. Now you just have to wait for the skip to pop up. They're pretty genius about that. And the ads you get on there are actually much more entertaining and interesting than what we get in the media establishment when you watch on network or cable TV and even on streaming. Like, it's just different. And there's only certain times where the media establishment can still kind of hold on to an audience, and that's from sports. Sports is very tough. And certain live events. Live events in general, as a matter of fact. But the other thing, too, is that the streaming services, they're not perfect at doing that either. For instance, so maybe Amazon Prime's really good at doing live sports, or Peacock or Paramount Plus, they're probably really good at getting that done. But try to say the same thing, or Disney Plus, of course, with ESPN Plus. Try to say the same thing for Netflix. And then what other streaming platforms are doing the same thing? Anything live? No. But on social media, whether it is Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, you are finding plenty of live programming that you can find from anybody that's a grassroots type of artist or somebody that's very popular. Or you can also find a plethora of recorded content of every size, shape, or form that you want, and including podcasting. It's incredible. And with YouTube, a lot of lives as well. And it's obvious that people want to have their choices where they're not constrained to what somebody's trying to program for them. Now, one of the things that people don't want to do when they watch their news is they just want the information, and they want to be able to find it however they want. Completely full of options. And why have people wanted to go and do that? Well, it wasn't necessarily like that all the time. I mean, the digital disruption did not have to have such a grand effect, if not for the fact that we had COVID, that we had the change in programming going on. Jerry Springer's documentary I watched on Netflix, I finally got a chance to catch it. And you look at the direction of when Jerry Springer started in 1991, trying to act like a younger Donahue, and then all the way to the end, where he just been full sleaze, thanks to the help of Richard Dominic, the executive producer. And then you think about, well, the Jerry Springer type of feel to it, that you still see that today in all the reality shows that are left out there, that are still being created for streaming. It's amazing they still have it. But ever since reality shows came into play, and when the news decided to go sensationalistic, when you look at any lettered news broadcast now, whether in the morning, evening news, whenever, and it sounds like you're listening to something off of Inside Edition, current affair, hard copy from back in the day in the 90s, yeah, you know what's going on. You can hear the cadence of the reporters. You can hear the cadence of the journalists. They're all doing it. It's what those shows were, sensationalistic. Because they're built on trying to use your emotions to the best of you. They are gaslighting you. They are manipulating you. They are persuading you. So people have gotten off of the brainwashing or the Jedi mind tricks that you see on television, whether it's certain TV shows that just have a certain formula, or news broadcasts that just have a certain way of presenting something to you. Because my whole thing was always been, where's the news? And if we have somebody that's talking, it's like, let's not do something contrived and short and small. Let's have some free form. Let's get just out there and just enjoy ourselves. But that doesn't happen much anymore. So if the major media outlets don't want to give us the programming we've been used to, that we used to enjoy. They can't give us the kind of entertainment that we used to enjoy, the kind of comedy we used to enjoy, the type of showmanship, the master of ceremonies, the whole pomp and circumstance. If they can't deliver that anymore, sports still does. But everything else, honestly, if you can't do it, if you can't give us TV shows with real budgets and real, interest into the product, you give us really good, compelling storylines, you give us great things to watch. Every time I watch a show that's, a previous show from back in the day, I look at Kojak as a show I'm watching now, like I said, and I look at the quality of the program there. Again, Telly Savalas was a movie actor coming into television. And then I see all the people that have become movie stars or TV stars today that all got their breaks on Kojak or shows like that. And then the way they put their together, they do stunts. They would have, the shooting and film, and the way they did everything, where you could actually tell they had a budget and shot on location in New York. But now you see all the programs that are going on through all these networks. If you even try to watch the network programming, it just looks cheap. It all looks cheap. Even the movies are starting to look cheap. Look at Marvel. Look at look at what they're doing right now, where you've gotten the overabundance of CGI and all these other effects that you've done, where you're putting money into that, but you can't put money into other things to help build the project and become better. Because of the budgets being allowed. And the money they're being put into, it's like, we're going to put it into the technology, not into the actual creating of the movies. So that's why it makes it tougher. So Deloitte has put this report together, and it's very interesting. We're going to go into it a bit. First of all, they explain that people still want the TV and movie experience offered by traditional studios. And I agree with that. What they want is quality. And I don't think we're getting any quality right now. Plus, there used to be things where we used to have the whole experience, right? When you enjoyed like a block of programming that was all good. Or you watch a programming and you might have the ads advertising and was actually pretty good, the ad spending, right? What you would see in the ad commercials. It was just the way things were done. But social video platforms now offer a seemingly endless variety of free content, algorithmically optimized for engagement and advertising. Wielding advanced ad tech and AI to match advertisers with global audiences and now drawing over half of U.S. ad spending. See, what happens is because all these media establishments have dropped the ball, the money they used to make off of advertising, now their free model doesn't work anymore. When they lost the advertising, all of them did the same thing. What do we do? What do we do now? Then they try to go streaming. And the only reason they went to streaming is because they could charge a subscription. And then make the offer, hey, what do we just give everything over to you without ads? And then you get them accustomed with that. But then you make it harder to afford. So then you start making concessions. Oh, well, maybe there's a couple of ads here and there, but you get this rate. And maybe there's more ads here. And then it just becomes the same thing over and over. Streaming on-demand videos revolution as fragmented pay TV audiences, imposing higher costs on studios now, operating direct-to-consumer services, and delivering thinner margins for their efforts. Right, pay TV is dead. HBO and Showtime. You got to find their stuff on either Paramount Plus or Cinemax. And the other thing, too, is that the quality and the budgets that were given for various shows of the heyday of networking cable TV, especially cable TV, HBO, Showtime, AMC, FX, USA Network, we're not getting any of that quality anymore either. That's all gone. There might be some shows that are still out there, but really, they're all being made for Hulu. They're all being made for Paramount Plus. And then even then, the budgets are only so much to do with as well. So Deloitte mentions that their digital media trends lends data to the argument that video entertainment has been disrupted by social platforms, creators, user-generated content, and advanced modeling for content recommendations and advertising. That's the other part too, is that but the digital, they have a way of giving you a plethora of different content to watch. But then the algorithms and the way they're able to go ahead and recommend content to you keeps you engaged. And it works. I can't tell you how many times I see something recommended on my YouTube feed and I watch, or my TikTok feed and I'll watch. For X alone, I will follow the For You tab more than I watch anything on my following tab. Believe it or not. Now, media consumption is one thing that's very important. Just before we even get to anything about where our ears, eyes are going to. So first of all, consumers surveyed spend about 6 hours of media and entertainment content daily. And it changes by the generation. So if you have senior citizens spending about 4.5 hours, up to 7 hours a day by Generation Z. And out of these 6 hours overall among all generations, 1.4 of those hours are watching TV shows or movies on streaming video services, 1.4 hours watching on cable or live streaming TV, 0.9 hours using social media, 0.8 hours listening to music, 0.6 hours watching user-generated content, 0.6 playing video games, 0.3 hours listening to podcasts. They also determined that preferences among respondents appear to be shifting away from pay TV and towards streaming, social video platforms, and gaming. TV used to dominate video entertainment time, but now younger generations are engaging more with streaming video on-demand companies, social media platforms, gaming, and even audio entertainment like music and podcasts. They're using different devices to consume media, right? So they're not even using your traditional radio or even your smart TV for the most part. In some cases, they're not. Whatever they can hook up on the internet to watch. And many people are their phones. I have a TV set in my bedroom or in my studio here in my bedroom I have not touched all year. We're 3 months into the year, I have not touched it. It collects dust on a table here, and I haven't paid attention to it. I can't tell you how many times I'm on my laptop watching television. It's just what I'm doing for what it was worth. Media and entertainment companies are also competing for a fixed amount of entertainment spending. We do not see those surveyed spending more money on subscriptions, and it looks like it'll be a fatigue right now, having to manage multiple subscriptions to get the content they want, with frustration about rising subscription prices. And yeah, it's gotten way too unaffordable for streaming services all across the board, with constant price hikes every year, for the most part. In the January 2025 Consumer Signal Survey from Deloitte, they say that half of U.S. households say they have no money left over at the end of the month after meeting their expenses. So the money that would normally use on discretionary entertainment is now on essentials. 20 years ago, many households may have considered pay TV an essential cost. But since then, digital entertainment options have grown significantly, and the amount of time and money available for it have not. And by the way, to go ahead and want to go and pay for programming when you got Tubi, when you got Samsung TV Plus, when you got Pluto TV, you got Roku TV, yeah, you're not giving us much of a reason to go ahead and buy new content because so much content is available that people could go and opt out and say, oh, you know, I don't need to watch that other stuff. Same thing with the movies. You know I enjoy my subscription with Regal in the unlimited plan, but every time I go to the movies, I've not had one movie this year that had a full house. And there's plenty of times I'll watch a movie in RPX. And that's what, a 200 and some odd person screen. It has not been full this year. Not a one. And it's also not helpful that some of the movies we've had have been barely given a trickle of marketing to even know what's going on. Snow White, I mean, we could go and talk about that, but you know what? Nobody's not really talking about it much, and it did not do well in the box office. I can tell you that maybe they had some kids that were watching the movie early on in my theater, but they were not there at night. Nope. It wasn't like an audience was really geared into watching that as they would if it was Little Mermaid or if it was Mufasa. No, not even that. Not even like that either. I guess they have to make another Inside Out or something, or maybe Lilo and Stitch will work out. Who knows? Moana, I don't know. But pay TV's making money but losing audiences? And I can't say the last time I put on HBO or Showtime. Just haven't. Plus, the quality of some of those programs they've had on there have not been great. I still remember watching Showtime's The Agency. And like I said, I watched the movie Black Bag, much better version of it. Didn't need the version with Grant Hasselhoff and George Clooney. No, pass. Streaming video right now, they're balancing value and frustrations. So in their survey, 53% of consumers surveyed said their streaming subscriptions are the paid media and entertainment services they use most frequently. 41% of those say the content available isn't worth the price. And that's up from the 2024 report. And almost half of consumers say they pay too much for streaming services they already use. And they say there's an imbalance between cost and perceived value. Yes. And you know what? I don't understand how they're spending so much on content. And it is dropping off. Like, I mean, look, I can't speak for the Apple TV Plus content that's television. But the movies, yeah, you know, they put money into it somewhat, but they don't pan out well. And every time they do, it's like their movies just don't pan out. They really don't make anything at all. Netflix never tries to even put a movie out in the theater. So of all those movies that come out, these studios not willing to go and put certain movies out there. I'm at the point where, like, sometimes I see a movie that should have just gone right to Netflix and should have never been in the theater. But they put it out there because somebody was in there that might have some drawing power, a star. And they'll just try it. Well, let's see if something happens, you know? The Lost Lands, Dave Bautista and Mila Jovovich. You would have thought, oh, maybe they'll get some people to watch. No. Sure won't. And there's movies like that all the time. Just don't really make them much of an audience. The current premium ad-free streaming video on demand service subscription right now is around $16 a month. And the data they had here, they say consumer survey, they said that $14 is just the right price to pay for an ad-free subscription to their favorite streaming on demand service. 25% was too expensive. Well, how many people were putting that money down? Okay, Peacock, Max, they're not over that limit. Paramount Plus is not over that limit. Yeah, so like Netflix is way too much. But people are buying it. I don't see the benefit of Netflix. I mean, there's a lot of content up there, but the quality of it, I would have to question. Then they ask about where studios and if they can compete for ad dollars. To get those 6 hours a day for media and for subscription fees, but they're also trying to compete for ad dollars. Now, streaming video on demand services have started doing ad-supported tiers, cheaper subscription prices, but in exchange, users must watch the ads. The monthly cost on average for ad-supported tiers is roughly $9 a month. And respondents would say they would pay $10 a month with the ads to get what it is. And then there's the part about ads on social media, the advertising on there, that they influence young consumer respondents far more than ads on streaming video. Yes, more persuasion comes from the ads on social media than anything else. It works. Like if I see, you know, various travel sites, it works. Those travel sites work really well. Maybe something like a Progressive or any of those insurance outlets, if they're not running some promo for some whatever show, they're running the trailers a lot of times for certain movies. That's always cool. They're not running the drug ads. Like Jardians from Ibo or whatever else, right? They're not running those kind of ads. It's true. Like some of the ads that we get for social media, they're actually quite targeted well. And you don't feel too hesitant to go ahead and skip over them. And the biggest thing that's got to be considered by the media establishment is that the audience, the younger they are, the less they're engaged to the legacy media. Or legacy media news, legacy media entertainment. They're just not, because they're not even going much to streaming anymore. Not as much. So Gen Z and millennials surveyed see more relevant content and feel more personally connected to creators on social media. There's that. And it used to be that we had certain talent that would make their way on the TV because that would be the next course of action. But now we're seeing online creators trying to go to the more traditional content. They say here that the approach is met with mixed reviews. Some consumers surveyed they'd be more willing to watch TV shows or movies starring their favorite creators, which makes up 29% of consumers overall. And others say that creators lose the authenticity they had on social media when they were featured on TV shows. 30% of consumers overall. And some studios feel like they need to be bigger to survive. The majority of advertising goes now to social platforms and hyperscale competitors, and a handful of global trillion-dollar companies with multiple lines of business and the most advanced AI availabilities and capabilities available. But now the studios are trying to separate their pay TV business for potential divestiture. Same thing with the cable companies, by the way, the cable channels. More studios are looking to advance their ad tech capabilities. And some studios are beginning to distribute their programming on top of social video platforms. Studios can learn from social platforms about content creativity and advertising capabilities, while platforms can benefit from the premium storytelling that is the strength of studios. So this rude awakening of social media and social content taking over and dominating the media establishment, there are some considerations that Deloitte makes in their survey and their report. That advertising and AI are moving to the center of content economics. Studios should invest in ad tech to deliver more affordable and effective impressions and conversions. They'll need some strategic partnerships to unlock some of those capabilities. They need to gather larger audiences, either through mergers and acquisitions or clever aggregation, finding world-class ad tech partners to help them compete in the new landscape. Adopt technology quickly, which means the AI part. Social platforms are the nexus of discovery, awareness, and hype for film and TV. And 56% of younger generations surveyed watch TV shows or movies on streaming after hearing about them from their creators online. The fear that short form doesn't work for premium IP may be mislaid. Get creative and publish to social platforms. Social video can help lift TVs and movies. And then social content creators can be the strongest advocates or opponents of studio creativity, talent, and storytelling. They can help you engage audiences and communicate with them with greater authenticity. And they may be keys to unlocking virality and shaping culture. So that's a full report they decided to put out there where it's looking into the digital trends for the traditional media, the media establishment, to start paying attention. That's the idea of the whole thing there. One of the things that's a casualty of what's going on with this digital disruption. Cable TV networks could be losing $7 billion every year as one of their biggest revenue sources could soon be banned. And they're talking about the fact that pharmaceutical ads might get pulled permanently off of television. So all those Jardiance, Mibo, whatever kind of things, right? They're talking about the fact that right now they've been accounting for a significant chunk of advertising income for cable TV. The pharmaceutical industry, according to data, spent over $7 billion on national TV ads in 2024 alone, and estimates suggest that spending represents 10 to 12% of total TV ad revenue. And linear TV ad revenue is predicted to decline 3.4% in 2025. So changes in the current administration of the president and the White House could cause ads to be banned. That's going to be a big deal if that happens. Watch out. One other story I want to bring up before we go and wrap things up, and that is from Inside Radio. 14 uncomfortable truths every leader should confront in the AI era when it comes to radio. They said, number one, you're not competing against other stations. Your real competition is Spotify, YouTube, podcast, TikTok, and the algorithm, deciding what audiences hear first. That's not true. Because what radio doesn't need to be doing is worrying about them as competition. They need to go ahead and just put themselves in their own lane. and become discovery and become a spot where they can do more and offer more opportunities for artists to get noticed and recognized more than ever. They say that most radio ads can sound better. Oh, they can be by far. Digital revenue only won't save you. Your best people will leave companies that move faster. Your sales team is wasting time. No one cares about your legacy. AI voices will outperform humans in some areas. Your morning show needs a podcast strategy. We've always done it this way as a death sentence. Your competition knows more about your listeners than you do. Self-driving cars are going to disrupt. You have a plan, and your ratings don't matter to advertisers as much as you think. Those are some of the things he had. And then also he has what? AI can make small teams feel big, and the future radio is AI enhanced, not AI replaced. Yeah, I agree with that part. I don't think AI is going to be the ultimate role of what's going to change radio anyway. Of course, the radio companies want to be able to see if they can do that, but I don't think it's ever going to be the case. I wouldn't put it anywhere in that mess anyway. That's it. That's the show for tonight. So thank you again for listening to the program. Episode 376 of the Broadcasters Podcast. Kept it short tonight. Just a quick report on this. And, we got some other things we got to wait for. I mean, we need some movies to come up. We need some TV. We need something to stir things up a little bit. So maybe next week we'll get to that. But like I said, we're just working through it. I got to talk about the NPR hearings and what's being said about that. But, I'll worry about that more if the funding's going away. Come back for another Broadcasters Podcast. Remember that content is king and the control of your content is in your hands.